There are some fantastic adaptations of classic horror stories. The one that comes to mind first is Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. That was not only the very first horror story, that was also the very first science fiction. And because she's talking about what's going to happen if science kind of slips its boundaries and goes into areas that we aren't quite ready to adapt to. And that has been one of the most adapted horror stories into movies that there's been, I think. There might be others, but I mean, Thomas Edison, one of the first movies he made was he did a film adaptation of Frankenstein. There have been others with Daniel Radcliffe just recently. My favorite, of course, is going to be the one with Boris Karloff, the old Universal horror, because I am a fan of the classics. And then from there you go on, you have Bram Stoker's Dracula. That's another one that has gone on and on and on, being made into the story itself, being made into films, other films being based off it. The werewolf kind of goes back into folklore. There wasn't one real central, definitive, iconic, canonical story about the werewolf. Though if you ever read the book Werewolf of Paris, you will find something that kind of defines the werewolf's tale. And then, of course, you have Edgar Allan Poe, Mask of the Red Death. Fantastic movie starring Vincent Price. Roger Corman did a lot of movies in the 60s and 70s based around Poe's works. The Raven, a very, very comical Halloweenish type movie starring the all-time greats Boris Karloff, Peter Lorre, and Vincent Price. And there is a surprise guest appearance by a very young Jack Nicholson, who went on to shine in The Shining. That brings us up to modern day, Stephen King. A lot of his things have been adapted, not only into movies, but also into musicals. Carrie, my favorite version is the one starring Sissy Spacek. And then Salem's Lot with David Soul and Lance Kerwin, Peter Mason. Pet Sematary with Fred Gwynne, who was Herman Munster. There have been a lot of adaptations, so if you don't like sitting and reading a horror story or a ghost story or anything like that, take a little bit of time with a bowl of popcorn, hot cocoa, hot apple cider, and after you've turned out the lights, when you've handed out the last bit of Halloween candy, turn on a good movie.